Frida is a young woman who dreams of becoming an animal-themed nail artist, but for now, she works as a waitress. She enjoys posting pictures of her nail designs on social media. One day, while browsing online, she comes across an interview with a billionaire tech tycoon named Slater King. In the interview, Slater apologizes for some inappropriate behavior in the past and announces that he's stepping down as CEO of his company. He also shares that for inner peace, he bought an island where he lives, grows his own food and raises chickens. Frida, who already has a crush on Slater, becomes more interested in him and starts looking up more information about him online. At the same time, she's frustrated with her boring life and wishes for a vacation. A few days later, Frida and her roommate Jess arrive at Slater's annual gala, where they are working as waitresses. Frida's boss pulls her aside, reminding her about last year's event when she tried to talk to Slater. Frida apologizes, explaining that it was Slater who complimented her nails. Her boss warns her to keep a low profile this time. As Frida and Jess serve drinks, they notice how fancy everything is, with the rich guests dressed in expensive clothes. Frida sneaks glances at Slater from time to time. Later, Jess surprises her by leading her to the locker room, where she has hidden 2 party dresses for them to wear. They both change and start mingling with the VIPs. Frida spots Slater in the crowd and decides to approach him, but she trips and bumps into a waiter, falling to the floor. Embarrassed, she looks up and sees Slater offering her a hand. After helping her up, Slater introduces himself and they begin chatting. He then introduces her to the people in his circle, starting with his therapist, Dr. Rich. Frida jokes about blinking twice if he needs help, and Dr. Rich plays along by blinking, making everyone laugh. Slater continues to introduce Frida to his friends: Cody, his childhood friend; Stan, his security guard; Vic, his right-hand man; Heather and Camilla, 2 women he's friends with; Lucas, a recent college graduate; Tom, a DJ; and Sarah, a reality TV star. The night turns into a fun blur of laughter and drinks, and Frida is thrilled to spend time with her crush. But just as the party is in full swing, Slater's assistant, Stacy, arrives and tells him they need to leave for the island. Slater and Frida exchange sad goodbyes, but as she's talking to Jess about the amazing night, Slater unexpectedly returns and invites them both to come along to the island. Excited, they agree. They all board a private jet to head to the island. When they arrive, Frida is stunned by how luxurious everything is. Stacy then asks everyone to hand over their phones so that they won't be distracted by work during the trip. Everyone agrees, though Jess seems a bit unsure but still hands hers over. Slater takes Frida to her room, which is filled with everything she needs. After he leaves, she takes a shower and puts on some fancy perfume she finds in the room. Just as she's about to change clothes, an old maid enters the room. The maid stares at her like she recognizes her and calls her Red Rabbit, leaving Frida confused. When Frida asks what it means, the maid walks away without answering. Later, Frida steps outside and meets Jess, who's surprised to find that they have clothes ready for them, considering they were invited at the last minute. Frida shrugs it off, saying it's just something rich people do. Soon after, they meet up with the other women, all of whom are dressed similarly. No one seems to think it's weird, and they all head to join the men by the pool. While at the pool, Frida keeps exchanging glances with Slater. However, Sarah soon approaches him, trying to flirt. But Slater doesn't seem interested and keeps his attention on Frida instead. Afterward, Slater offers to give Frida a tour of the island. During the tour, he shows her a rare flower called Desideria, the plant used to make the perfume they've been using. He also mentions that the island is overrun with lash vipers and the workers are trying to get rid of them. As they walk, Slater opens up about his life, admitting that he barely remembers anything from before he turned 10. That's why he sees Dr. Rich, who helps people recover lost memories. Frida finds it a bit odd, but Slater explains that sometimes forgetting is a blessing. During the tour, they also run into Stacy, who is carrying several red gift bags. Later that evening, everyone gathers in the dining room, which is lit by candles because the generator isn't working. As they eat, Frida accidentally spills something on her dress. Vic, Slater's right-hand man, asks what she does for a living. Frida responds that she's still figuring things out. Vic, we notice, is missing a pinky finger. Slater makes a joke about how Vic lost it, but Vic doesn't answer. Instead, he pulls out a small bottle of MDMA drugs. After taking the drugs, the group feels a rush of happiness, laughing and enjoying themselves. Things seem to be going great. But when Frida goes to bed that night, she notices something strange. The stain on her dress has completely vanished. She finds it odd, but doesn't think much of it. Over the next few days, everyone drinks endless champagne and relaxes in the pool during the day. At night, they enjoy fancy dinners and take more drugs. One evening, Slater notices the scar near Frida's eye and asks how she got it. Frida, however, doesn't know. Suddenly, Slater excuses himself and leaves in a hurry, forgetting his vape. Later, when Frida is holding the vape, she notices dirt under her fingernails and is shocked. The next morning, she tries to return the vape and sees Slater coming out of a therapy session with Dr. Rich. She greets the doctor and reminds him of their first meeting at the gala, along with the blinking joke. But Dr. Rich seems nervous and doesn't remember, but quickly agrees before hurrying out of the mansion, carrying one of the red gift bags. One night, as the group is dancing and having fun, a scream suddenly breaks the party. They find out that Jess has been bitten by a snake. Slater quickly kills the snake with a bottle and reassures everyone that the bite isn't dangerous. However, Jess becomes very anxious and rushes out of the party. Frida follows her, and Jess starts saying she wants her phone back and needs to leave the island. She insists that something strange is going on and that the people here are acting weird. But Frida doesn't want to leave. For the first time in her life, she feels noticed and important, and she tells Jess that this is the kind of vacation they had always dreamed about. After some hesitation, Jess agrees to stay. However, not long after, Jess experiences a nosebleed while sitting alone. The next morning, Frida starts her day by taking a shower and applying the same perfume she found in her room. While on a walk, she spots a red bag lying in front of a room. Curious, she steps inside and is surprised to find the room filled with more red bags. Just then the old maid appears and once again calls her Red Rabbit. She hands Frida a strange green liquid, which Frida drinks without hesitation. But the maid then points to some snake remains, revealing that the liquid is venom extracted from all the snakes they've caught. Shocked and frightened, Frida quickly leaves the room. That night, Frida has a strange dream where Jess is holding a knife and asks her to hide it. When Frida wakes up, she feels unwell, which catches the attention of Sarah. Lucas also shows up with a bruise on his eye, but no one seems to notice or care. Oddly, no one even comments on Jess's absence. After breakfast, the men excitedly talk about going fishing, while the women decide to stay behind. One of the girls pulls out Jess's lighter, which prompts Frida to ask about her. To her shock, none of the girls seem to know or remember anyone named Jess. Panicked, Frida rushes to the room where Jess had been staying, only to find the furniture piled up, as if Jess had never been there. Frida returns to her own room, where she finds a knife hidden behind a mirror. Just then, Sarah walks in, holding Jess's lighter with her name on it. Frida insists that Jess was here, but Sarah claims she would remember if there was another person with them. Frida starts sharing all the strange things that have been happening, like how she always wakes up with dirt under her nails. Sarah reveals that she also has a mysterious bruise on her arm and no idea how she got it. She confesses that out of the whole group she only knows Cody, who had invited her to the island after meeting her in a coffee shop. Sarah says that she knows she is having a good time here, but deep down there is a feeling that she is not having a good time. This leads both Frida and Sarah to realize that they're being manipulated. The men are somehow controlling their memories. Frida remembers Slater once saying that forgetting is a gift, which now seems suspicious. The two women go to the room filled with red bags and start to speculate that the perfume they've been using might be responsible for erasing their memories. Frida also recalls that after drinking the snake venom given to her by the maid, she had started to remember things. They find more of the snake venom and give some to Sarah. Deciding to act quickly, they mix the venom with tequila and give it to Heather and Camilla, hoping it will help them recover their memories too. Soon after, Stacy joins them and also drinks some of the mix. She then warns the girls that the men will be returning soon. Realizing they're running out of time, Frida decides to search for their phones and asks Sarah to keep watch. Not long after, Sarah starts getting a nosebleed, just like Jess did before she disappeared. When the men return, Slater asks where Frida is, and Sarah casually tells him she's in her room freshening up. Meanwhile, Frida sneaks into Slater's private villa and breaks into a locked cupboard, searching for the phones. She finds them, but is interrupted when she hears Sarah's yell. Panicking, Frida hides the phones just as a box falls, revealing a collection of Polaroid photos. The photos show different people holding the same red bags they've seen all around the island. Before she can process this, Slater enters the room, completely unaware that Frida is hiding under his desk. Just then, the snake venom starts affecting Frida. Her nose begins to bleed, and suddenly she is hit with flashes of memories. She sees herself and the other women tied up and terrified, while the men tortured them. She now realizes that the venom made Jess remember everything, which is why Slater killed her. Horrified, Frida seizes the chance to escape while Slater is distracted. She rushes to Sarah and tells her everything that happened to Jess. Fearing they might meet the same fate, they decide to act as though nothing is wrong, at least until Heather and Camilla regain their memories. That evening, during dinner, Frida's memories flood back even stronger. She now knows that the men have been assaulting them every night and using the perfume to make them forget. Lucas had been against it, but the other men pressured him, telling him to grow up. Frida also remembers Dr. Ch assaulting her recently and how nervous he was when she recognized him at the gala. Now, it's clear why. Slater had reassured the doctor that the worse the memory, the more likely they would forget it. The realization sickens Frida, and it becomes harder for her to keep up the act, and Sarah is struggling too. But they gather their strength, and Frida gets up to dance, with Sarah following her lead. The others soon join in, and it seems like just another night of drinking and fun. Suddenly, a piercing scream fills the room. It's Camilla, who has just remembered everything. In a frenzy, she grabs a knife and repeatedly stabs Tom, killing him until Slater arrives to pull her off. At the same time, Heather's memories come rushing back, and she begins chasing Vic. Inside, Sarah stabs Cody in the hand and tries to attack him further, but he manages to escape. Meanwhile, Heather catches up to Vic and hits him hard with a chessboard, smashing his face in. But before she can finish him off, Stan appears and shoots her dead. At that moment, Stan notices Frida in the distance and starts chasing her. She runs into the woods, but he soon catches up, ready to shoot. Luckily, Sarah sneaks up behind him and hits him repeatedly with a huge rock, killing him on the spot. While this is happening, Slater drags the severely injured Vic and a tied-up Camilla into his private villa. Lucas, who has also been using the memory-erasing perfume, is confused and panicking, unable to understand why the girls are acting this way. But Slater pays him no mind, and coldly, he steps on Camilla's neck, suffocating her to death. Elsewhere, Frida is searching for a knife in her room when Stacy shows up, clearly upset. Frida realizes that Stacy's memories have come back. However, Stacy is different from the others. She has been using the perfume on purpose because she chooses to forget. She angrily accuses Frida of forcing her to remember all the horrible things she's been through. A struggle breaks out, and Frida fights back, eventually stabbing Stacy in the chest, killing her. Back in the woods, Cody is hunting for the remaining girls under Slater's orders, but Sarah ambushes him and shoots him dead. Meanwhile, Lucas is still confused and unable to grasp why everything has gone so wrong. Slater tells him that he can do nothing, just like he did nothing when the girls were being assaulted. He did nothing to them, and he did nothing to save them. At the same time, Sarah reunites with Frida, who has just found a Polaroid photo of herself inside the mansion. The most shocking part? The picture was taken 1 year ago, meaning Frida has been on this island before and had no memory of it. After learning the truth, Frida and Sarah arm themselves with a knife and a gun, determined to end the nightmare. They arrive at Slater's villa and demand he open the door. When he refuses, Lucas decides to open it, but Sarah immediately shoots him dead. Slater seizes the moment to overpower Frida and locks the door behind her. She grabs an object to defend herself, but he quickly takes control. At that moment, Frida flashes back to a year ago when she tried to escape, falling on a rock that left a scar on her face. She remembers painting her nails with a red rabbit design, and that she was the one who bit off Vic's pinky finger. Back in the present, Slater tells her that people could be free from pain if they could forget their trauma. He urges her to join him, put on the perfume, and let go of the past. While he rambles on, Frida quietly frees herself with a piece of glass. Meanwhile, Sarah runs out of bullets as she tries to shoot through the door, and Slater captures her. He drags Sarah into the room where Frida, now free, stands with a knife. Slater grabs the knife, and Frida fears he will kill her, but he says he won't because she is his best friend. After inhaling from his vape, Slater turns to finish Sarah, but suddenly becomes confused and disoriented. Frida had secretly infused his vape with the memory-erasing perfume. As he collapses, He knocks over some candles, setting the villa on fire. The flames spread quickly, and Frida leaves Vic to burn. Outside, Sarah asks if Frida knows what she's doing. We see that Frida has also saved Slater from the burning villa. In the final scene, some time has passed. Slater's company is hosting another gala, and Dr. Rich approaches him, wanting to talk privately, but Slater looks confused and disoriented. Frida steps in, telling the doctor that Slater isn't available. It turns out she is now married to Slater. Dr. Rich becomes visibly nervous when Frida mentions she remembers him. As the host introduces Frida as the company's new CEO, we see that she's secretly drugging Slater's vape to keep him disoriented and under her control. And that's how the twisted story ends with a twist. Don't forget to like this video and share your thoughts in the comments. Subscribe and hit the bell icon so you don't miss any of our stories.